So when it comes to Minnesota's internal free agents here, we're going to start with the offensive line. Rashad Hill, tackle, has been Minnesota's swing tackle for the last couple of years now. Pro Football Focus gave him a 61.0 overall grade for the snaps he did play. Didn't have a penalty, didn't allow a sack, and had a cap hit of $2.025 million. Dakota Dozier, he's also, this past year he was a guard for us mainly, although he did kind of flirt around with some other positions. 51.4 overall grade, 2 penalties, allowed 2 sacks in the snaps he played, which was 360. Rashad Hill only played 150. But his cap hit against the team last season was $735K. And Brett Jones for 2018 had an overall grade of 53.1, 1 penalty, and no sacks allowed. And his 2019 cap hit was $677,000 with 191 snaps played back in 2018. I'm grabbing that because he was injured most of the year and I didn't play. So I think Hill is a very average backup kind of player. I don't think he's necessarily like the worst swing tackle in the world. But if he's not willing to take less, I don't know if he's necessarily in Minnesota's futures, plans here. Strictly because, we do have Oli Udoh, who they did draft last season, and who knows how he's necessarily been developing throughout the year, right? Don't really have a big sample size with that last game against Chicago, but I'm gonna guess that he kind of worked on both left and right, and I imagine that to continue. So I think Oli Udoh being on the roster kind of makes it so Rashad Hill isn't necessarily back, especially when you have a younger, cheaper option in Udoh. And I think if Dozier is around that same price where we can get him on, against the cap around that same 730, 740, 750, thousand cap mark, it wouldn't be ridiculous to think he could be back because, like I said before, he did flirt around with some playing center towards the end. And you also had him playing some left tackle in the preseason. So I think they would like his versatility. He's already been in the system. He was with Dennison, even back with the Jets. So I would think Dozier, if he's around that same price tag, despite, once again, just being kind of like this average backup kind of player, we could look at him being back just because of his versatility, and he allows you to dress one less lineman probably in games. And that would make Brett Jones very expendable, being a center, if they like his versatility at center in specific, because Brett Jones is mainly just a center. He played some left guard, but I think they like him as the center backup, to where if they think, well, if we don't need to pay this guy to be the center, and we can get this guy to be both the guard and center, and we like him as the backup for both, then obviously Dozier kind of edges out Brett Jones. So if Dozier's back, I kind of don't expect Brett Jones to be back, and I would think Dozier would fill multiple spots. And we get to tight end. David Morgan, he didn't play in 2019, so we go back to 2018 stuff. He isn't really much of a receiving threat as of right now. He was only targeted 6 times. He caught 5 balls for 36 yards, 7.2 yards per reception. Didn't score a touchdown. He did get 2 first downs, and his cap hit was $753,000. And the reason why that could be important is, well, he is Minnesota's best blocking tight end, like I said, but he isn't the most receiving threat kind of guy here. And that contract is actually eligible to toll over if Minnesota ever so wishes to do so. And it should be interesting because, well, you're kind of already locked into Rudolph and Irv Smith for sure. And then it kind of comes into, would you be willing to potentially part with Conklin? Because I don't think carrying 4 tight ends, despite of how many tight ends this team uses, is necessarily good for the roster. You could see them technically carry 4, but 1 being a practice squad. And it's kind of like, do you want Morgan to battle it out with Conklin, or do you just not toll it over? And if they are just comfortable with Tyler Conklin being their third guy, it's pretty easy just to say, okay, Morgan, it's been good, all this, do that, it's all right, but it's time to move on. And I kind of expect that to be the case a little bit. I'm just thinking, because they've always kind of raved about Conklin, so I would think getting him on the field more is something they would want to do a little bit. And the more tight ends they have to trust, the better. And at least as far as Kubiak's concerned, he hasn't seen Morgan, really, because the entire time he was hurt, because I think it actually stemmed from an off-season surgery, and then he just never came back to full strength. So he's never actually played within this system, and I don't know if that's going to really impact things, but Kubiak's never had him. So we could look at this, be like, well, he trusts this guy. He doesn't know about this guy, so maybe just let this guy walk. I kind of expect him to walk. But, yeah, not really the most eventful group here, but, going over it all the same. And your comments down below, helpful. Liking, subscribing, also helpful. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.